seed swap table at Feast Fest several years ago. He grows food in paradise. He's been gardening since he was a kid, and 3 years here in Newfoundland, and knows many things and tricks and tools, and he's going to help us learn a few things about how to put these tricks to our own benefit. So, Matt, thank you.
Everyone, I hope you guys all enjoyed the fantastic lunch that was put off by the various volunteers. They've been working their butts off today. So today I'm going to be talking about stretching your seed level. So gardening can be a little expensive sometimes, especially the soil quality we have here, a lot of rocks, building raised beds. You're getting into situations where you have to buy that soil. You have to buy the lumber, or if you're really going all out, you have to buy the stone to build raised beds. So we need ways to economize. Well, one place that you can economize is when you're buying seed. So first off, big confession, I'm addicted to seeds. I'm a little obsessed. This is my stash. And believe it or not, this is after I've de-stashed it. I've been trying not to buy a whole lot of seeds the last few years because I've gone a little overboard over time. That baggie up at the top there was an entire pound of one kind of seeds. I accidentally ordered too many of that. That was actually not intentional. So there's a few ways that you can save a few dollars on seeds. You don't necessarily, you have to be careful how you do it though, because you don't want to cut too many corners or the wrong corners. So starting off with planning carefully, planning what you're going to plant. Going back to the top earlier, thinking about what do you like to eat. Don't plant a bunch of kale if you don't like kale. Things like that. Saving your own seed. Again, why buy seed if you can just plant stuff from your previous year? Swapping seeds, like we have the swap over here. You can also sometimes find different ways of organizing seed swaps, either locally or even online. Ways to reduce waste. It's very easy to waste seed, especially small seed, like carrot, for example. It's really easy to overseed. And where not to cut down seeds. So it's really important to know where you should be spending money. Where to actually say, okay, I'm going to make that little extra spend to get something extra or something that I need that it will end up being a better investment. Okay, so we're going to start off with planning ahead. So you need to think about things like, how much space do you actually have? You don't want to buy pounds of seed when you've got 2 raised beds and very little else. So it's really important to think about how much space do you have, how much space do you commit to the plant. This also sort of helps to know what the footprint for a given plant is. So how big does a head of lettuce? Different varieties are going to take up different amounts of space. Can you plant it in between other plants? Sometimes you can. Some plants don't do so well with it. Again, what kind of fruits, vegetables, and herbs do you and your family enjoy? It's really important not to buy things you don't eat. Or, now, if you're not sure, that's okay. Go and buy a packet of seeds and try it out. But if you know that your family doesn't like beets, plant beets. Don't buy beets. It's a waste of your money. How much seed do you really need? So looking at, again, going back to the planning, how much space you have, you can sort of figure out, okay, well, I know I don't have a lot of space, and I can only commit a certain amount to lettuce or to whatever. So you can sort of backtrack from that and say, okay, well, maybe I need a lot. Maybe if I'm going to be, maybe my family really into carrots, so I'm going to plant tons of carrots. That's going to be buying lots of carrot seeds, but not necessarily buying much of anything else. Ordering from one seed company versus ordering from several. So to save money, especially on the shipping side of things, if you're ordering online, ordering from one seed company can be very good for that. The one downside is that you can't always get all the varieties that you want from any given company. but it's kind of, you have to kind of balance the two, right, between getting what you want and what you need versus the cost of shipping and stuff like that. And planning on whether or not you're going to save seed. So around the seed saving part of it, you need to think about cross-pollination. That's the biggest thing, because if you're going to save seed, you need to know if you're going to grow one variety or more than one variety. Different plants have different amounts of cross-pollination. Certain plants you can plant really close together, or you don't need to isolate them, and they'll grow just fine. The seeds you save will grow the same plant next year. Certain other plants, like for example, tomatoes actually can cross-pollinate if you're planting very close together. So then you get new plants, which are usually some sort of mix of the two parent plants, which may not be a bad thing. It's kind of a random way of going about it. But if you want the same plants year after year, you need to think about whether you need to isolate those plants, whether or not you need to put them at a distance from each other, that sort of thing. Be realistic. Think about how hard it is to save seeds. I love growing carrots, but growing carrots for seed takes 2 years. It's a lot of work, and frankly, I can't do it. So I don't bother, because I know I'm not going to have the time to put into it. Also, think about what to do with your excess. So, say, for example, you save tomato seeds or peas. Actually, peas are a really good example, because you can get a lot out of peas. And you'll probably end up with more than you need, so then you just need to sort of think about, okay, well, what am I going to do with the excess? So just going a little more into the cross-pollination thing. You need to actually look at the family of the plant, not just the plant itself. So for example, brassicas. Brassicas have a tendency to cross-pollinate. Squashes. Anything that's in that sort of family of squashes, they're actually extremely well known for being, they cross-pollinate very, very easily, so you can end up, if you have, say, pumpkin and zucchini in the same area, they will cross-pollinate. I can almost guarantee you, because you have to keep the distance a great deal. Or you can isolate them by covering them with breathable bags, like mesh bags. I personally am a big fan of the distance method just because it's a little less fussy. But the amount of distance is determined by what kind of plant it is and what kind of pollinator it is. Usually the three main ones are either insects, wind, or it self-pollinates. Self-pollinates are usually things that you don't have to worry about cross-pollination too much, unless you're intentional. But knowing a little bit about that and doing your research, and this is sort of going back to planning ahead. If you plan ahead, you'll know, okay, I want to grow 3 different kinds of tomatoes. If I want to save the seeds from them, I need to have them at least a certain amount of distance apart in order to make sure that they don't cross-pollinate. So swapping seeds. So choose sources of seed for your swaps. So maybe you can grow your own. So if you have to grow something and you end up with a lot, you can swap and put it in the swap. Or excess, like that pound of bean seeds that I bought. I ended up, there was actually a bunch of it in the swap bin today. It's a good way to sort of offload that excess, because you don't need it kicking around your house, and why not let somebody else make use of it. And that way, if you're putting something in, you can usually take something out, so maybe you get something that you don't have what you need, so that's a way to save some money by getting something that you need, by giving away something that you don't. It's also a good way to try something new. If you're getting something from the swap, you can try it out, see if you like it, see if it's something that will grow in your area. It's a great way to sort of experiment a little bit without costing you any real money in terms of seed costs. Also, don't be afraid to ask. Gardeners really are some of the most generous people I know, because they will give you as much excess as they can, especially the zucchini. do not go near anybody who's growing zucchini. If it grows well, they'll give you bags and bags of it. But with seed, it's the same way. You will often find that people are willing to give seed away, especially if there's a situation where you're experiencing some financial difficulties, things like that. You explain the situation. A lot of the times people will be willing to just mail you a couple of packets of something that they've got. Even if they don't have a ton of it, they'll often share it. So the best place for that is gardening forums and websites, things like that. One of my favorites is myfolio.com. I've been on there for a few years now, and people there are super nice. They also organize seed swaps, so I was involved in one a few years ago where it was literally a box that would get mailed from one person to the next, and you would add stuff and take stuff out. It was a really nice system. Everybody got a little bit of everything. It was actually across the country. So we had seed all the way from BC, all the way across the country to here. And it went in a full circle. So by the end of it, the person who started it actually got amazing seed from it, which I thought was really kind of cool. How to reduce waste. Don't overseed. That's the biggest thing I think is it's really easy to overseed with lettuce, with broccoli and other brassicas because they're tiny little things, a little bit bigger than the poppy seed. And it's a real pain. So one way that you can do it is seed measuring stick. So it'll tell you what the distance is. It's really easy to make. All you need is a little bit of like 1x2 or 1x3, and you just mark off where the different distances are for how far apart you can make your seeds. Another way to do it is homemade seed tape. I've noticed some of the big commercial companies are starting to get into seed tape, but it's really, really easy to make. I made some last night for the first time, and it took me maybe an hour and a half, and that was really fussy. So you could probably put it together in like half an hour in the middle of winter when you've got nothing to do but dream about your garden. It's a good way to get your fix. Testing germination, like we were talking about this morning, that's really important. Generally speaking, especially if your seed is more than a year old, and actually I'm going to pass these around a little bit later, they're actually, depending on the type of plant, you might be able to get a little bit longer than a year, but anything more than a year, you definitely want to do the germination test as well. If you're buying it new and they tell you what the germination rate is, you might be able to get away with actually doing it, but that's kind of and yeah, different seeds will last for different amounts of time. For example, onion seed generally doesn't last more than a year, although I am trying some this year that seems to be doing okay so far, but we'll see. Whereas things like carrots and beets will last like 5 years. So this is the seed tape that I made last night, and all it is strips of paper towel and a paste made out of flour and water. And seeds. These are actually carrot seeds that are probably a little over 5 years actually, although they still germinate, they're not too bad. I actually did them in like batches of 3 or 4 so that if they don't germinate, no big deal, and you can still thin them. The nice thing is that you can actually set a distance based on how far apart should they be when you're ready, when they're fully grown. These carrots are fairly small, so I can actually space them a little bit closer together. Plus I don't mind thinning them out a little bit more as they get a little bit more mature. And basically the nice thing about this is you've got your spacing dealt with, you've got your seed amount control, and it's super easy to plant on top of that. You just dig your trench, drop that in, cover it up. You don't have to fuss around with sprinkling seed and forgetting where you are if you don't have enough seed. I do that all the time. There are actually a couple other methods that you can do to help even out your seed distribution. Especially with carrots, one method is to mix it with sand. I haven't used that myself. I've heard it works pretty well. I just like this because it kind of feels the lazy part by gardening, where you just dig the trench, drop it in, cover it up, done. So this is a picture of a seed brewer that was put together by a blogger on myfrugalhome.com, and basically all it is a stick with holes drilled in so that you can just drop the seeds in at the appropriate distances. This would be really good, I think, for some of the larger seeds like peas and things like that. You might want slightly bigger holes if you were doing beans and things like that, but it's still a good way to make sure that you've got your spacing. about the product. So where not to cut corners. So you want to buy quality seed. Spend the money, buy quality seed. Dollarama's got lots of seeds, but you know, what are you going to get? Maybe you're going to get good stuff, maybe not. So avoid genetically modified whenever possible. In large part because they probably will not breed true if you save the seeds. So if you save the seeds and you try planting them, they probably won't grow, or if they do, they'll turn into some sort of, they might be one of the previous ancestors, could be just other. Buy organic whenever you can. Splurge on the organic, because then you're more likely to get better quality seed. Get seller recommendations from other gardeners. Make sure that you talk to people who know. Ask them, where did you get your seed? Was it any good? I bought some seed a few years back. It was organic, it was from Italy, and it was terrible. All of it. Every single one of them. I'm like, but I didn't ask anybody to say, hey, are these guys any good? Soil quality is another big one. It's not directly related to the seed, but if you don't have good soil quality, you can have the best seeds in the world, and you're still not going to get a very good plant out of it. Good seeds and good soil means good plants, and it means that you're going to have stronger seed when you save it. When you end up with if your plants are strong, then you get better seed. You've got a much stronger genetic profile, so that when you go to the next generation, those plants will be stronger again. So it's really important to think about the quality of the soil that you're working with. So that's pretty much it for me. So I've got a couple of handouts courtesy of Root Cellars Rock that I'm going to pass around. They're mainly around seed saving. One of the seed saving resources, and this one is an excerpt from the Seed Saving Skills Workshop. Both of these are also available on the Root Cellars Rock website, and rootcellarsrock.ca. Yes. A good part of my stash